All right.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It has been like at least 2 months since we've had a podcast, but we're back here in late March, and we have a special guest here today, Max Schwarz. Welcome, Max.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Good to see you guys.
He's actually a D3 college golfer at Emory University, and so we just wanted to have him on, ask him some questions about Emory, and then ask him about just the sports in general across the country. Trevor?
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Max, welcome. Great to have you. Our first athlete on our sports podcast show. So you have that title, I guess. My first question for you is what's your experience been like so far playing for Emory? How do you get along well with the guys on the team? Do you like the coaching? What's that been like for you?
Yeah, it's been great so far. So I'm a sophomore now. So I've been on the team a year and a half. I guess wrapped up our spring season due to this whole coronavirus nonsense. But yeah, it's been great. That was a big draw. The guys on the team was a big draw during my recruiting process. Really got to know them on my visit and really connected with really all of them. So that was a big point of emphasis in where I chose to go to school. And the coach Schoberg, he's a great dude. Really got closer with him this year, especially. I spent freshman year as kind of like the sixth guy on the team in college golf. It's play five and you take the top four scores. So I was the sixth guy. I was kind of on the outside looking in as far as the lineups go. So not traveling on a weekly basis.
Where are you playing this year? What spot have you been playing in mostly?
This year, so I jumped around in the fall. I had a really good fall season. I ended with the top scoring average on the team, but started out the fall playing in the four spot, and by the end of the fall, I was playing the two. One of our seniors, Matt, great dude, great player, was playing the one consistently all year. So got really close with Coach over the past semester and in the off season. Really good guy. Really looks out for our team. Really has the best interests of his players in mind, and that's a huge bonus and a huge support. Huge person to support throughout the process.
Ryan, before I hand it off to you, I want to ask one more follow-up, Max. What has been the biggest difference between junior golf and high school golf versus college golf? And how's the traveling? How's all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing. So in junior golf and high school golf, being from Arizona, most of our tournaments were in Phoenix. Occasionally we go up north and play some different style of golf. And I had one tournament out in Florida, actually, which was a great experience. And that kind of previewed what college golf was like for me, in that you're playing different courses, different styles of courses in different states pretty much every week. So that's a big thing to get used to, different types of grasses, different layouts, different architects. It's just a very different style of game everywhere you go. Now on top of that, in high school you got a little bit more of more time, more flexibility in your schedule. With college golf, you're busy all day. So a big thing is time management. When you're on the road, you need to figure out when and how to do work, how to stay connected. You got a lot of group projects in college, so that's a big thing to keep in mind while you're on the road, is how you can still be there for not only your golf team but your team in the business school. So I'd say that the two things are definitely just the style of golf, and then just being a little more cognizant of how you're spending your time, and figuring out when to focus on golf, when to focus on school, and how to be the best you can be at both.
Awesome. That's great insight. Damn.
Yeah,
Ryan, any more questions for him? I'm assuming you have some.
I mean, sure. I mean, kind of building off that though, like in regards to college golf specifically at like a D3 level, is it just as much of a commitment, do you think, at a D3 level versus a D1 or D2 level?
For sure. So
that's a commonly asked question.
Yeah, because a lot of people assume D3 is like less commitment or not as much work, right, as a D1 level or something.
For sure. So I definitely think there's a scale to it. So in Division III, one of the biggest differences between Division III and Division I is the best teams in Division I are a lot better than the best teams in Division III. And then the second difference is the depth. So in Division III, there's not as much depth as there is in Division I. In Division I, I think probably the top 150 to 200 teams are very, very capable teams and can really beat any of the other ones on a given basis. At the Division III level, we have really in the fall, it was 3 or 4 teams at each tournament that were really competing amongst each other. But you get people sneaking up. But once you kind of get outside the top 30 or 40 teams, there's definitely a different caliber.
There's just less quality teams, right?
Right. So
yeah. Okay.
So with a top Division III school right now, Emory, we finished the season ranked third in Division III.
Oh, really?
And I'd say we'd probably be around 100th in Division I if we played there. The number one team in Division III just played a Division I event and beat some of the top. I think they're ranked like 125 in the country and beat them pretty soundly. So it's all an estimate. Haven't played a Division I event as a team, but we probably ranked 100th. But the time management and the business of it is similar. So for us, we have workouts in the early morning, 6:30 a.m. workouts. We have to be done with class by 2:15. We're out at the course from 3:15 till dark. And that's pretty much a daily routine. And then on weekends, we're qualifying, we're playing tournaments. So the commitment level, I would say, is the same between Emory and really any Division I or Division II school. And I think the same kind of scaling thing happens at the Division II level as well, maybe a little bit deeper. But so it's the same time commitment and the same intensity with Emory and with Division I and top Division II schools. I think as you kind of go down in the rankings, it'll probably look a little bit different.
Sure.
But each program is wired differently. Each program kind of has their own method for how they think they can be the best. So that's probably a school by school basis. But for Emory, I know we max out our hours that the NCAA allows us to practice as a team, and then when we're not practicing as a team, all of our guys are practicing on their own. We're inside hitting balls. We're doing whatever it takes to get better.
It's good to hear.
So, well, I don't know, Trevor, if you had a question. No.
No, I mean,
no. Okay, I was gonna ask
outside of maybe switching gears a little bit. This is just
fine.
more like, this doesn't really have to do with you personally, Max, but
this is more general.
This is just more general. Obviously, an ongoing debate in sports the last few years is the idea of paying college athletes, and I've always wanted to ask an athlete's perspective, because we always hear about the perspective from the media and from the NCAA, but we don't actually hear the perspective as much from the athletes themselves. And I wanted to ask you, obviously, no offense to this, but you don't get the same notoriety and attention as a Division I college football or basketball team. But what are your thoughts on paying college athletes? Do you think we're going towards that in the future? Do you think it's a good idea, bad idea? What are your thoughts?
So that's a very complicated and multifaceted question.
I agree.
As far as the time goes, I kind of call it like a full-time job. The amount of time it is comparable to having any other job. With that being said, especially with like Division III golf, we're not bringing in revenue. So there's multiple ways to look at it. Is okay, should the athlete be paid for the time they put in, or should they be paid for the output or the result they give the university?
That's honestly the bigger debate within the debate.
Exactly. And athletic scholarships are a good way to assist the athletes and to kind of essentially pay the athletes. However, the scholarship rules don't cover everyone on the team. So should Trevor Lawrence be the guy who he probably should be the guy in Clemson to get paid, but how about the walk-on third string quarterback who isn't the guy leading the team necessarily? He's putting in the same hours as Trevor Lawrence, but who knows? So it's really complicated. I do think the NCAA does have to address it in some form or fashion, because there's a ton of student athletes.
Sure.
And they're all putting in the hours, and this will become more of an issue. And there's definitely arguments for and against. It's really tough to say how much. To put the details to it would be pretty much impossible. I'm very glad I don't have that job.
For real.
But I think scholarships are a great way to provide benefits to the student athletes. They get free tuition, free room and board, whatever it is. But again, the scope of the scholarships allowance is small, and at a D3 level for Emory,
there you go.
Any athletic scholarships. I know the Ivy League doesn't have any athletic scholarships, even though they're Division I. So the range that the scholarships are able to take on is rather small, and probably does need to be addressed in some way. Maybe they spread the scholarships out more. They increase the amount per team. I know it's going to become probably in the limelight right now with the whole coronavirus deal, because I know they're considering an extension of, or they're considering allowing seniors, maybe every athlete to forego essentially this semester as a season of eligibility and get another one back. So how are scholarships going to work with that too? So I think all of that kind of plays into the bigger picture. But I do think it's definitely something that needs to be addressed, needs to be looked into, and how they decide to do it. Probably it won't end up affecting me. I mean, I'll probably be gone by the time it goes into place. But I think somewhere down the road it's going to be looked at, and some sort of system's probably going to be put in play.
I agree.
You get the whole pay for play scandals that you see with some college basketball schools, and that just can't happen.
Oh, yeah, sure. And that's just the teams that got caught. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that's probably only the small amount that got caught. So I mean, I'm sure it's more rampant, and that creates an uneven playing field, which is just,
That's an interesting. Sorry to interrupt you. That's an interesting point you brought up, because some of the people that make the argument of, well, people are already paying athletes, why don't we just make it legal and get rid of this whole idea of it being criminal? That's an interesting point you brought up.
Well, yeah.
You think that's a fair justification? Probably not a fair justification, but.
So the issue with that is you kind of look around and you're like, all right, you got Alabama and you got Clemson. They're bringing in massive revenue for college football, right? So if you completely legalize the whole pay-for-play idea, they're going to have
a lot more of a share.
Well, yeah, who has all the money?
To throw out the best athletes that they can have. And essentially you're just creating a system where the biggest school is automatically going to have the best teams, the best players. And you're kind of like, if Alabama's a dynasty, if Clemson's a dynasty, I mean, that's going to be tenfold if they're able to now use all the money that they bring in to pay their players. And then you get smaller schools. I mean, at a Division I level, especially, there's still some small schools. I know Davidson has like 1,300 kids. They're not going to have the means to match an offer that a guy who would maybe go to an Alabama or Clemson would be able to do. And maybe that person would have gone to Davidson. Maybe they like the school, but because Alabama's offering them, $100,000, and Davidson, smaller school, can't offer that much, they're going to end up choosing Alabama. So it's complicated. They could maybe try something where baseball or professional sports at the salary cap, but again, they're
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard because there's so many college athletes. It's hard to cover everybody fairly. I feel like it's the biggest problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just a really complicated
diversity as far as the different kinds of schools that you're talking about. 32 NFL teams. They're all kind of working with the same amount of operating cash.
Right.
They're working under the same restraints.
Right.
At college level, there's much more disparity, and there's many more factors to take into account.
Well, and also, yeah, I mean, if you go off like the people who, they're calling for getting paid and everything, that's a minority of college athletes, right? Like in terms of like the people who are like saying like, oh, we deserve to get paid, because most college athletes aren't bringing in like a ton of revenue for the team, right? Because other than college basketball teams, like big ones, and college football teams, you have a bunch of random.
The big schools end up,
the vocal minority is what it is, really.
And that's, I mean, it's justified. I'm not.
Yeah, I know it's justified. Yeah.
Even the best college golf teams and bringing in nearly the revenue that
sure.
Oklahoma State, really good college golf team year to year, but their football program, even though it's not even necessarily a top
it's program. Average, right? Yeah.
It's average.
It's good. It's fine.
But they're bringing in exponentially more money than the golf team is.
Oh,
so
for sure, yeah.
Again, like you look at it within sports, across sports, it's just if the NCAA were to do something, it would have to be very specific and very detailed, and probably on a division by division basis for sure. And then absolutely will need to be a sport by sport basis.
Yeah, sport by sport basis for sure.
Football and basketball would obviously be allocated the most allowance, simply because of the revenue they bring in. But then there might be arguments that golfers or
maybe eventually
or swimmers bring up about the equity in that. Super complicated situation.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And as the more you think about it, the more complicated it becomes, because there's just no right answer necessarily, but many ways to approach it, many thoughts surrounding it. So we'll see in the coming years probably what.
Yeah, I think the NCAA will hold out for as long as they can, though. I mean, I think they don't want to. I mean, they know it's going to overcomplicate everything once they have to delve into this whole area of paying certain people.
Right.
They're just going to hold out for as long as possible, because it's just
a complicated situation. They'll
exactly.
If I had to guess, it's not going to happen soon, and it's
it's not.
It's going to be gradual, I would expect. I don't think the NCAA would throw out
You're
a
right.
bombshell,
Oh yeah, for sure.
situation.
Right.
Probably be tested at maybe small schools if they're able to pay more, how that would look. But
It's gonna be a really weird
right, I wouldn't expect it
situation.
to
Yeah.
happen soon. But I'll be keeping posted. It's a curious thing and definitely something that I'm interested in. And I know you guys are. We've had these discussions, off
Oh yeah,
air many times.
for sure.
So
Absolutely.
it's a very interesting argument to be had.
Oh yeah.
Just one more question about you personally, Max. This is about a little bit towards the future. Do you ever intend to play pro golf? Is that what you want to do? And what are you pursuing / studying outside of sports?
Yeah, so in regards to professional golf, it's definitely a dream of mine. I started golf actually pretty late. I was probably 13 or 14 when I really started to get into it. I'd go golfing once a year with my grandpa, but
Right.
I'd never hit balls on a driving range. I never really worked at the game. So really started golf and started tournaments at the age of 14 or 15. So I really didn't have the intention of playing college golf until really my sophomore year, junior year of high school. So I've been playing golf now for I think 5.5, 6 years. So I'm like, I have 2.5 more years of college left. So I've got some time. I'm definitely not going to, leave college early. I'm not going to pull a Jordan Spieth and go pro without and forego the remainder of my college experience. But I've got a little bit of time to decide exactly how that will look. I probably will try to an extent the professional route. I think with the trajectory that my game has taken over the past 6 years, I think if I continue to work and keep at that trajectory, it's a possibility. And a big thing with pro golf is just playing well at the right moments. It's not even necessarily always who's the best player. You just kind of got to get lucky sometimes and shoot low scores when you need them. So I think it's definitely a thing I'm going to pursue. Maybe give it a shot for a year or so, and then hopefully I get at Emory, I'm studying finance with a minor in real estate. So hopefully I end up taking on or accepting a good job offer if the professional golf doesn't work, and hopefully the year maybe that I try professional golf will
You'll have a
bring up
breakthrough
some
or something.
opportunities within the golf.
Hey, yeah, you never know.
So yeah, definitely up in the air, and I'm definitely still dreaming, still hopeful. So gonna keep working at it until it's not feasible anymore.
Fair enough.
There you go.
I love that.
Yeah,
I
for
like
sure.
that.
All right, so I don't know. Do we want to start to move off of that more into more of a general sports?
Yeah, real quick transition. Obviously,
overview or
Max is a terrific golfer, but he also knows a lot about other sports. He somehow keeps consistently performing well in fantasy football every year. I think he's how many
I call
years?
I call it luck.
3 out of 5 years, champion of our league.
So he knows a thing or two about football, or he gets lucky. It's one of the two. You never know.
Yeah.
This is actually in relation to the coronavirus. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. I'm sure you've heard of it at some point.
Once or twice.
In regards to the NBA and several other professional sports,
sports in general, really
suspending their seasons. But let's focus on the NBA here for a minute. Ryan, I'm going to hand this off to you in a sec. But what do you think the NBA should do about when they should come back? Should they have a regular season? Should they go right into the playoffs? What are your thoughts?
So that is a really interesting question. And, you've seen a lot of people, throughout the country, give their takes that, the NBA should come back with no fans, right? Or they should come back and finish the season. They should come back and go straight to the playoffs. I think the NBA wants to finish their regular season. I think they're going to try to do that. I think what is going to end up happening is they're going to complete the regular season with no fans sometime in June, maybe. And then I think they're going to attempt to have the playoffs with some fans. So that would come in like July and August, right? So I think they're going to try to bring back fans for the playoffs, if only to have like that playoff atmosphere. And so I think that's a lot of the reason that they're going to wait until like mid to late June to finish the season, just because they want to have the option to bring fans back for the playoffs. I don't know. I think that's really important.
No, I agree with you. I do think they're going to, if they do finish out the regular season, I could see them shortening the regular season by.
I think it's 17 games left. It's not. I don't think it's that long necessarily.
It's a decent amount of games. Yeah, the regular season will take at least a month though. If you have 17.
Yeah, it'll take a month. Yeah.
The only reason why I think they do need to have the regular season is because I was actually watching an online interview that LeBron James did, And he talked about if they went right into the playoffs, LeBron said that he would need 2 weeks of training camp and 5 to 10 exhibition games to get back into playoff mode.
That makes
And
sense.
that was interesting because for the NBA, you would want the best players at their best come playoff time.
Of course.
So I don't think it would be smart of the NBA to go straight to the playoffs, especially after a long layoff, because these athletes are rusty. They haven't played with their teammates for a while.
They're definitely out of shape, a lot of them at least.
A little out of shape, lack chemistry. So I do think for the NBA's sake, having a regular season would be smart. Now, the only issue you'll have is if you finish in August, the NBA regular season starts in October, so there's virtually no off season.
Well, you're gonna have to push everything back at least a month. Like at least everything's gonna have to be shifted.
2-game season to play. So would you take some games out of next season? That's what's up for debate.
Maybe.
Max, what are your thoughts?
So it's tricky because not only obviously is the NBA suspended, but so is every other sporting event, every other entertainment industry. So I mean, let's assume that the coronavirus comes and goes by July 1st, right?
Right.
Which is obviously just a complete guess. It's tough to estimate
that's fairly reasonable.
But let's assume July 1st we're cleared for sports to come back in some nature. The tricky part that you're going to have is not only is the NBA coming back, so is the MLB. NHL.
Of course.
The NFL, their off-season stuff starting up.
I think that creates a TV problem.
The NFL starting up. The NFL is going to start in late August, early September as far as regular season goes. So, like, in the end, money runs everything. So
that's why they're waiting for fans.
Right. So they're, waiting for fans, but also, how are they're not competing with all major sports, with all major, entertainment entities. So how is that really going to look? So what I think is the NBA is probably going to try to avoid that competition. The MLB will be in the regular season. The NHL, I believe,
will be in the playoffs.
The same timeline of the NBA.
The NHL and the NBA are on similar schedules.
Pretty similar timelines.
Right. So the NHL, it might be dictated a bit by the NHL, but I think they know in the U.S. that the NBA has a greater market, and on a global scale as well, the NBA has a greater market than the NHL. So I personally see, if they play some regular season games, it would maybe be because of what LeBron said. They might play a few just to kind of get the players back. But I think they'll jump into the playoffs pretty quickly.
Really?
I agree because
strictly from a rating standpoint, if the NFL is far and away the most popular sport in
the United States, right?
Yeah, of course.
Viewership.
For sure.
So once the NFL starts, the NBA really would have trouble competing.
But here's the thing: if
it all depends when you can get it in.
How much of a ratings hit would the NBA playoffs take if they coincided with the early part of the NFL regular season?
It won't. It will not. I don't think it'll last that long. But what do you think?
I think it would be a pretty sharp ratings hit, because not only that, but you're also. I mean, I'm gonna watch the Masters over the NBA playoffs personally.
Okay.
And that's probably only me.
I didn't even think about that.
Right. That's only me, and probably some other,
Well, what are they? Have they rescheduled the Masters for a specific date?
Sometime in the fall is what we keep hearing.
October, but I'm not sure.
Okay, so they're not okay.
But again, you're looking at a bunch of big events that are going to be happening in a very short span of time.
Yeah.
And we didn't even talk about the Olympics. They haven't officially canceled the Olympics yet. They're likely going to.
I think it's pretty certain that it's been postponed until.
Yeah, it's been. I think
until next year is what I'm hearing. I didn't know if they officially canceled it. Or
I mean, I don't know if it's been official, but I'm pretty sure like a member of the committee.
Yeah, I think it's a safe assumption at this point based on.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Although I don't know, it all depends when the NBA can start back up. Because if you can start back up in the middle of June, I think you can get it in before the NFL starts up. I think. But if you have to wait till July,
here's the thing: if you want to do the full regular season, that's at least a month. So you're middle of July.
You have to. It's all about when you can start back up.
Playoffs take 8 weeks in the NBA. I did the math. The playoffs start in the middle of April.
They're not expedited at all. It's not possible.
What's up?
They couldn't make the playoffs.
They couldn't really. I mean, if you think about it, they're playing up to a 7-game series, and those games
and they're playing every other day. They're not getting all that much rest.
It's in a 10 to 12 day span.
It's 7
games would occur.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've got it's 4 series, 5.
4 series.
4 series.
So that 4 times 10, 40 days, month and a half at least, and that's really on the short end of how long it takes.
It's in between a month and a half and 2 months.
Right. So that's where I think that the NBA will probably look at it from a rating standpoint, from a money standpoint, because in the end, ticket revenue is not It's a
No.
factor, but it's not a big factor.
Right, they need that TV revenue more
Especially
than
not at a league level. I think.
But think of the ratings they're going to get if they play the regular season in June. Like the ratings in June, if they play the regular season, like if they can get that back in like June sometime, the ratings for the regular season will be crazy because
in my
everyone's so
opinion, it would be
starved
the
for
same
sports.
now as it is in June. It would be the same now because there's no other sports really going on.
Well, right now, yeah, of course. Well, obviously.
Well, no, he means same year to year because the NBA still controls the market over the summer.
Well,
I mean,
I agree in that
spring at
sense,
least.
but I think the initial burst, I think people are just so starved for like absolutely anything. I think
that's fair, but that'll also happen if they do it in early July.
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
if
for
they come back
sure.
with the playoffs, you know.
See, that's tough though. You have to balance because you risk angering the players, you know.
For sure. But I think bottom line, my foresight would say that they'd come back and kind of jump into the playoffs pretty quickly, try to get it wrapped up. And
I agree. I think the best thing for the NBA is to get to the playoffs as soon as possible, have as little overflop with the NFL as possible. I don't think they're concerned about baseball because personally, I don't give a crap about baseball. I think baseball is awfully boring.
I think baseball's going to take the biggest hit, actually.
I'm with Max. I much rather watch golf than baseball. So if it's between the World Series and the Masters, I'll watch the Masters any day of the week. But I agree. I think the NBA in their best interest would is to get the regular season quickly finished, get into the playoffs, try and get it wrapped up before the heat of the NFL season starts, and then.
You think they're going to finish the regular season? I know
it all depends on how the virus goes.
Yeah, it depends.
It's hard to say because again, we have really no idea what's going to happen in the next 8 weeks, even 4 weeks. So
it's all very up in the air.
Sure.
Right.
We have to wait for at least the next 3 weeks to see.
Probably even longer, I think.
Well, I mean, in terms of whenever you see like any sort of slowdown.
I agree.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later. And
although I mean,
everyone would be very happy with that, and then I think it would also make this discussion a lot easier because I think.
Well, yeah, it's hard to do it now. It is. Yeah.
If you can get back in June, they'll play some more games before the playoffs start. But I think the NBA definitely would be wise to have their mindset on getting those playoffs started, and really just kind of wrapping it up, getting that return to a normal schedule as they can, and getting the players. I mean, I think. You know, the playoff teams, those players maybe want a few more games to play, but you know, I don't think Warriors players are trying to play all 82 games this year and forego some of their off season.
Hey, Cavs players want to play all 82.
What's that?
I said Cavs players want to play all 82.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
At least they say they do.
Right, they say they do until they realize that their off season might be 4 weeks long.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonder what the draft will be.
I think it's going to be split, like pretty much anything in today's world. It's going to be a pretty polarizing issue within the NBA.
Sure.
And I mean, you also think like with the NFL, with the collective bargaining agreement. I mean, you had the top players were very outspokenly against it.
I know that was really interesting.
I had assumed that because of that it was not.
I thought it was going to fail.
Right, but it passed. So I mean, you'll get LeBron speaking out saying, you know, he wants possible. But I'm sure that
but I do like how the NBA hasn't given up on the season though. I think it's good that they're at least going with the mindset of attempting, you know, to want to finish the regular season games. I think going in with the mindset of like throwing out the regular season already would be too premature.
I agree.
Yeah, no, I think it's good right now.
If only the NCAA March Madness did the same thing.
I know. That's really interesting. We can talk about that for a quick second, but that's really interesting, right? The NCAA, like the tournament, like was it the right decision to post like totally?
The problem is they're on a different calendar than the NBA.
These players aren't professionals, so this isn't their job.
Sure.
So any senior who would be graduating is not really going to be able to come back in August and play at the NCAA tournament as much as they'd want to. Their employer is not going to allow them.
Yeah, and you don't think they can make a special circumstance for that?
No, you can't. It's too difficult.
You probably couldn't. As cool as the NCAA tournament is, I don't think a senior who just graduated and has now really moved on with what they're doing, you know, between March.
Sure. I guess then you have to remember that most of these players are having normal lives after this, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. I'm sure the top players in college basketball want to play the tournament. You know, even.
I'm sure they all do. I'm sure they all are.
Of course.
Especially for those seniors who have never gotten to play. I'm sure that they can't play.
It's brutal. But I know Like for us, we had our national championships canceled. They're supposed to be in May.
Mhm.
But I know one of the seniors on my team is going pro, and I know the other one has a great job in the real estate industry. And for the guy playing professionally, it might be more conceivable to play a national championship in September.
Sure.
But
Right.
for Sammy, our senior who has a job now, that'd be tough. It's hard to get a week off of work to go
Yeah.
down to
Early in
Florida
your job. Yeah.
play as great of an opportunity as it is, and as much as we need Sammy to play in that and contend,
Right.
probably wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a tough situation. It's one of those things that if it was in July, they could probably get away with postponing it a little bit, but having it right at the start of this outbreak makes it pretty much impossible to do. There's just not enough flexibility, and there's too many
Right.
parts
Right.
with each player and with their life and what they're doing.
I completely agree.
Okay, well, now that I don't know, we touched a little bit on the NFL, but I think it's time we talk a little bit more about free agency and the draft in general.
Well,
And I
some like
think,
sports stuff that's actually happened over the
well,
last 2
yeah, and
weeks.
I think it's really important. I think it's really good that the NFL has, kept free agency on time and the draft on time. I think that's
The
really
NFL
good.
always seems to be the center of discussion, no matter what time of year, what circumstance. There's
True,
always
right?
something about the NFL.
It's the end of March and we're talking about the NFL. We should be talking
More
about
than
the
anything
NBA,
else.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, but seriously, I think it's good that they kept free agency going and everything. It kept people's, kept their mind off of everything. A lot of people to focus on something else. But yeah, I don't know, Trevor. Do you have any thoughts on a general team or two that got a lot better, or a team or two that got a lot worse? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on
Obviously, I'm a diehard Cardinals fan, so I'm
that?
incredibly happy with our offseason. Not even
Sure.
just the DeAndre Hopkins signing, keeping Kenyon Drake,
Okay.
signing Jordan Phillips, the defensive tackle, signing an outside linebacker. We addressed our needs at pretty much every position except offensive line, but now we can use our first-round pick on an
And
offensive
secondary.
lineman. I'm really happy with Kyler. I think Kyler's going to have a great second year. I'm really
Okay.
happy with my Cardinals. A couple teams that nobody are talking about that I think had a very good offseason. I think the Atlanta Falcons had a solid offseason, and nobody's
Really?
talking about them all that much. I
Really?
do. I think getting Dante Fowler, was a huge
Okay.
help for their defensive line, especially that's a weakness on their team. Signing Todd Gurley,
Okay.
Devontae Freeman's been very inconsistent the last couple of years. I think Gurley will help them out, and especially help out Matt Ryan. At least put a little bit less pressure on him to be the only source of offense.
Well, yeah, have to carry the load himself.
I think they addressed a couple
Sure.
of needs. I think the Atlanta Falcons had a very good offseason. And I think I forgot the other team that I was going to say. That. My bad.
It's okay. I think. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'll hand it off to you. A team that had a bad offseason.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think it's. I think to me, it's fairly obvious. At least, I don't know. You look at the Los Angeles Rams, and you look at what happened to this team. Like you look
I
at
think it
them
was
2
bound to
years.
happen.
You look at
though.
them
I think
2
it was
years
bound to
ago, and they were primed to be one of the best teams, if not the best team, for the next 5 years. Like they were all young players, top tier offense, defense with a ton of big names, and now you look at them. They lost a bunch of players on the defensive side of the ball. You said they lost Dante Fowler, right? They lost one of their corners. They lost, Clay Matthews. They just lost a lot of pieces. Gurley,
I disagree
right,
with you on the Rams a
offensive
little bit. I think the Rams are going to be fine this year.
end. I don't think so. Look at their team, and you have
I look at their
extremely
offense,
flawed
right?
Jared
Let's go to their
Goff.
offense for a second.
Sure. An extremely flawed Jared Goff with 3 good receivers, right? Three pretty good
Exactly.
receivers.
But I think Goff this offseason
Okay.
I think Goff's going to have a better year than people think. I think last year Goff had a really bad O-line, an aging O-line.
Is it better now?
Inconsistent running back production. Todd Gurley was inconsistent. I forgot the freaking backup's
Malcolm
name.
Brown?
Whatever. Yeah, whatever.
Yes.
I think they're going to address the O-line in the draft. They might address the running back in the draft. And you talk about the guys they lost on defense.
Yeah.
Clay Matthews washed up, in my opinion. He's old. Dante Fowler, he's a good player, but he's inconsistent. He's an edge rusher,
Sure.
but isn't that versatile of a defensive lineman.
They lost their nickel corner. It was something Coleman. I forget his.
Oh,
full last
Roby
name.
Coleman.
Yeah,
Again,
he was a solid corner.
Solid player.
Yeah.
But they have Aaron Donald. They have Jalen Ramsey.
Okay. Big names, right? Who
But who've actually
who
performed?
else? Eric Weddle retired, right? Or was he not even? I forget.
I agree. They took some hits on
Yeah,
defense, but I also think those guys are a little bit aging, a little bit washed, and I think it's
Yeah.
good for the Rams that they are getting younger and moving towards the future.
I don't know. They've had a lot of young big names for a while, and it didn't pan out last year. Now they have even less young talent than before. I feel like so. I don't know. I don't really trust
And I also
Goff.
think we're
I don't
underestimating
really
here.
trust
I
Goff to
think
take things.
Sean McVay is still an excellent NFL head coach. He will work with Goff this offseason. They have an excellent receiving core. They have good tight ends. And if they can address the O-line and address the running back position, I still think they have a
Big
very complete
ifs. O
offense.
line is extremely underrated in how important it is. I mean, the Browns were bad last year, in my opinion, pretty much because of the O line and bad coaching. But the O line is extremely important in regards to like succeeding. And like Goff just can't. Goff's not mobile, so like they need an O line to be able to function.
I'm going to bring Max in here on this one, but we haven't
Yeah,
even talked about possibly the biggest free agent splash of the offseason, Tom Brady to Tampa. What are everyone's
crazy.
thoughts on that? I'm sure Tampa's very happy about that. But how good do we think Tampa Bay is going to be this year with Tom Brady? Open to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Max, yeah.
I think they've solved their turnover problems. I think
That you
we
can say
obviously
for
know
sure.
that the Brady to Jameis the Jameis to Brady transition. Sorry, will definitely eliminate a large amount of interceptions, a large amount of mistakes. And I think that was one of the big things that held them back. I mean, they scored a lot of points,
Completely agree.
so their offense was very potent, but they also gave up a lot of
Sure.
points. And you can point that maybe it's their defense. Probably had something to do with it. Their defense isn't that great. But
Sure.
it also, I mean, they're giving their opponents short fields. So
Right.
I
Right.
think I don't think they're going to be as flashy. You know, Brady's always been more of a like a Julian Edelman.
Systematic, yeah.
He's been a system. He's gone.
Right. He's not a Lamar Jackson or an Aaron Rodgers, but
He
he gets
plots
the
his way
job.
down the field. They don't have 80-yard touchdowns,
Sure.
especially to the same extent that Tampa Bay would.
Mm.
But you know, he's got some great receivers around him. They lost Rashad Perryman, but they still got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, I believe.
Yeah.
So they're going
And
to have
great tight ends, in my
right,
opinion.
exactly.
OJ
Is a
Howard
very
has
good tight end.
potential.
So he's got a lot of targets, definitely more so than he had on the Patriots. He's going to have consistency there. So I think their offense is going to be scary.
I
So
completely agree.
if it is the case that their decreasing of turnovers will add enough help to the defense.
I definitely think it will have an impact for
Oh,
sure.
I think it definitely will.
Impact. I think we just have to wait and see how much of an impact it has.
How much does Brady have left?
Right. If the problem was if it was that the defense was having
Turnovers.
to defend opponents from the 50-yard line every time,
Mm.
or if it was just that the defense wasn't able to get a stop.
Sure.
So we'll see. I don't know enough about the Tampa Bay defense to have a stance on that, but I definitely think it's a big help, and I definitely think I root for the Falcons. I'm a Cardinals fan, but that's Atlanta, so I root for the Falcons as well. And I think that division is going to be a tough one with the Saints.
Yeah, it's going to be a great. That division has 4 really good quarterbacks. If you look
Exactly.
at Breeze, Brady,
Really
Matt
good?
Ryan, Teddy Bridgewater. So that's going to be a great
You
division.
say 4 really good quarterbacks?
I mean, are you
I don't
saying
know.
Matt Ryan and Teddy? Okay, Teddy Bridgewater is a little unknown. Okay, but
I'm
3
saying
really good quarterbacks and a decent starter in Teddy Bridgewater.
sure.
Yeah, that's
But
good.
in regards
Matt
to,
Ryan won an MVP. People forget Matt Ryan.
I know,
won an
no, he's good.
MVP
He's a good
and
player.
honestly should have won a Super Bowl. Obviously, we all know
Yeah,
what
I should
happened
have.
there. Tom Brady's the GOAT.
Yeah,
Drew
that was
Brees is
tough.
a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's going to be a really, really interesting division to see how that plays out. I still think New Orleans wins that division because I think they have a more complete team.
New Orleans just can't get it done in the playoffs, but that's
Exactly.
for
That's
another
going to
time.
New Orleans. But
Yeah. But in regards to Tampa Bay, real quick, I mean, their run defense last year was top. I believe it was top 5 in yards per carry allowed. So like they did a good job of holding the run. They just couldn't. Their secondary was just pretty bad.
they have a couple of really,
So,
really good young linebackers.
They
Devin
do. Their
White,
linebacker core is really good, and their
Devin
D
White,
line's
they
pretty
drafted
solid, I
him.
believe. I
Sorry?
mean, they re-signed Ndamukong Suh. They have a good D line as well.
Yeah, they franchise tag Shaq Barrett. Devin White's a really good young linebacker out of LSU. If they can address their secondary, I don't really know much about their O-line, but if they get a secondary and those young guys continue to develop.
Watch out.
Yeah.
And Tampa Bay has a great coaching staff. Todd Bowles is an excellent defensive coordinator. Bruce Arians is an excellent head coach and offensive mind in this league. Those guys, oddly enough, were the Cardinals head coaching staff 5 years ago when we went 13-3, but
Wow.
we decided to let
Look how
them
times change.
for that reason. I agree. I think Tampa's going to be an excellent team this year, even though they won't win the division, but they'll make the playoffs for sure.
Yeah. I think that secondary is going to be a big
question mark
for them, and that you got Drew Brees, you got Matt Ryan. That division is very
right.
focused and
Playing
very
those guys twice a year, man, that's going to be tough.
Exactly. So you've got some really good quarterbacks that you have to figure out how to stop, and that starts with secondary. As much pressure as a good D line can give you, and as much as much running help as
Yeah, you
they're
gotta have a
able
secondary
to,
to.
as much running as they're able to stop. You know, if they get a 3rd and 5 and they're unable to stop that, teams are just going to march down the field on them.
Right.
And
Yeah,
if their offense will be able to stop them, if I'm a bettor, I'm taking the over in every game that Tampa Bay's
Oh
playing.
yeah, no, for sure.
But
I completely agree. Tampa Bay's going to be in a lot of shootouts this year. Let's just put it that way.
for sure.
One last question I want to talk. Well, there might be two, but this is the big one I want to talk about. So recently in the news, Bruce Arians went on a radio show and was asked about, obviously Tom Brady and Antonio Brown have a very weird but a very close relationship. They apparently Brady grew very close with Antonio Brown during a short time in
stayed
New
at his
England.
house, right?
Yeah. Antonio Brown stayed at his house.
Yeah.
Which is weird because they're two polar opposite people in my personal opinion in terms of personalities.
From what we see.
Arians went on a radio show and basically shut down any idea of Antonio Brown coming to Tampa Bay, despite the fact that him and Brady have a very good relationship. So the question I want to ask either of you is, I'll start with Ryan on this one,
Sure.
Is Antonio Brown going to play ever again in the NFL? Is he done? Is his NFL career over? Or does he have a chance of playing somewhere in the given future?
I think he has a chance to play still. I think that he's been quiet the last few months, right? I mean, it hasn't been that long, but he hasn't, been headline on the news, right? For something stupid that he's done. So I think if he can stay quiet for a little while longer, I think he has to show all these NFL teams that he can play on a quiet, maybe a bad team first. I think he has to go to a Bengals type of team or I don't know, someone like the Raiders or someone who's probably not going to make the playoffs, or at least not supposed to. And he needs to show that he can handle being on a team like that before I think he goes back to a contender, because he was shown to be too big of a problem in the locker room last year, just to go jump right back onto a contender.
I have a strong opinion on this, but I'll let Max input his opinion. Max,
I mean, so my standpoint is this: AB is going to be 32 years old in July.
Sure.
People haven't talked about that at all.
Wide receivers can play later.
He's 32 years old, man.
Yes, but he's an undersized receiver. He gets a lot of his effectiveness from his speed and from his quickness.
Yep.
So age is tough. Is he going to deteriorate in 32 and 35, or is he going to be a Tom Brady type where he just seems to not grow old? I probably lean more towards the former. I think that he's playing a position that is very taxing on the knees, taxing on the legs. So it kind of in opposition to your point, Ryan, I don't think he really has the time to go to a Bengals type team and prove himself, because even if he does prove himself, that's just going to be another 1 or 2 years down the road where teams aren't really going to want to take a chance on him, given his track record and given his age. If age becomes a factor, that's going to be a real challenge for GMs to overlook.
Okay, sure, yeah. If age becomes a factor, then you're right. That's a problem. But I still think he has to go back to another team before jumping to a playoff.
I'm in agreement with Ryan where I do think Antonio Brown will play again in the NFL. Yeah. I don't think he should. I don't think any GM or any team should take a chance on him.
Oh,
I think we're underestimating how bad AB went off a cliff here. AB has called out players, coaches, owners. Who's seen the police video of him cussing out his wife?
I saw that. That was bad.
He's
that was
walking
bad.
away with his kid.
Yes.
Him posting DMs of Juju Smith-Schuster when Juju DMs him and goes, "Hey man, how can I get better?" And him just betraying Juju's trust. If I'm a GM, if I'm an owner, if I'm a coach, why would I want that presence in my locker room at all?
No, I mean you don't. That's the thing. That's why I said I think he's going to go to a not great team. I think for a year, if he can. I don't even know if he'll play this year.
Here's the problem with him going to a bad team. What? Antonio Brown's a guy that needs volume. He needs the ball thrown his way. If he goes to a bad team and gets targeted 4 times a game, temper tantrums.
That's exactly. I think he has to prove that he can handle being the guy that doesn't get. Then there we go.
There we go.
So if he can't handle that, then I think he's done. Which is sad because he was so good.
I know.
But I think we don't really have that much time. But I want to touch on one more quick thing before we go. In regards to the quarterbacks this offseason, we've had a ton of different, quarterbacks move teams and everything. It's really been a weird offseason for that. So with that, we have a couple quarterbacks still on the market, and Jameis Winston and Cam Newton. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on what you think. Where do they go? Can they still lead a team? I don't know. Can Jameis cut down on the interceptions? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think Jameis is going to go somewhere as a backup, in my opinion.
Really? Really? Wow.
Here's the problem. It's about supply and
Wow.
demand, and there's no one that
Demand?
needs Jameis Winston.
You don't think so?
Not one team in the NFL needs Jameis Winston outside of
New
maybe
England.
Jacksonville.
New England?
I think New England's rebuilding. I don't think New England
San
wants to sign.
Diego?
New
Or
England also
LA,
can't have a
sorry.
Jameis. New England's not going to take a Jameis type where
I agree.
they value ball security.
I think they do too, but I don't know. I mean, unless they think they can
I think
cut
New
down on
England's
the
going to rebuild.
turnovers.
I think New England's going to. I mean, they're going to try and get Trevor Lawrence. They won't get
They will
Trevor Lawrence
not.
this year.
They're
But I
not
don't
going to
think.
try to get
I mean,
Lawrence.
if New England signs a Jameis Winston or a Cam Newton, I think it'll be to a 1 or 2 year contract as like a transitional
Really?
period.
Okay.
The Chargers, I'm not really sure what they're doing because I don't know who their quarterback is anymore.
I think Cam goes to the Chargers.
That's very possible, and I actually think that'd be a good fit because the Chargers have
They're
a
a
very
playoff
good
contender
roster.
with him on the team, I think.
They did lose Melvin Gordon, which is a bit of a hit, but they
I
do have
mean-
Eckler and the other guy, whatever his name is, Jackson, I think.
Justin Jackson.
But I just don't think there's a market for Jameis Winston as a
Okay.
starter. As a starter, he could go almost anywhere as a backup. He'd be a great backup, especially
I
for
think
like
he
a
could
New
go to-
Orleans or a team with an older quarterback. I
Yeah,
think
I was looking at the Packers roster just now, and they've got a couple backups for Aaron Rodgers, Manny Wilkins from ASU, Arizona State rookie, and this guy
Right.
Tim Boyle from Eastern Kentucky, second year. I
Right.
mean, I think Jameis, out of really any quarterback we've seen in recent history, would benefit so much from being under the wing of a
I completely agree.
experienced veteran like
I think he will
Rodgers,
too.
like
Take a year or
Brees,
two
you
to
know?
sit back and watch someone like Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees.
Exactly.
Play
That's
quarterback.
also why I thought Belichick would be a good coach for him, but maybe not.
He would be a good coach for him, but I don't think
I just don't think that's
You don't think he has?
England's
You don't think he has the patience at this point?
Dude, look at it. Belichick would be a good coach for everyone.
Well,
Right.
yeah, but in particular, someone with a turnover problem. You know,
For sure.
with that much
I don't think
potential.
I don't think you can win with James. You can't win a Super Bowl with Jameis Winston, at least right now. So I don't think it's in New England's best interest to sign an average quarterback. I think New England's at a
Okay.
point where they need to rebuild and start fresh.
I feel like I'm higher on Jameis Winston than both of you.
I'm pretty high. I think Jameis can.
He's a
still
good
play,
quarterback.
but,
He's a good quarterback.
but I think he needs guidance from
Oh, he definitely does.
probably from watching an Aaron Rodgers or a Drew Brees
Okay,
in
that's fair.
person, like being in the quarterback room with them, really learning from them.
Yeah.
Because
I'm with Max.
They
I'm with Max.
threw what 32 touchdowns, 31 touchdowns last
Yeah,
year.
it was like 32 or
He
33.
threw for 5,000 yards and 30 something touchdowns.
He's a very capable quarterback. He did have great receivers,
did.
and he did play on a team that was passing.
And
the ball.
Arians' system is really good for deep
Yeah,
passes.
Arians is a quarterback whisperer. For
Yeah,
sure.
he is.
So there are definitely areas of concern that you might say, oh, he fits in well at Tampa Bay and really wouldn't fit well anywhere else.
Maybe.
But if he can maintain his ability to pass well, and if he can limit the turnovers under guidance from a veteran quarterback who really knows their stuff, I think he'd be a great guy to take on as a backup if you're not going. I mean, if he's willing to sign for a lot less than he was making.
Yeah, he wants big money.
She's gonna have to. I mean, he's not a starting quarterback right now in the NFL.
And in this market, there's just very few teams that need a starting quarterback. And you look at all the.
I don't know.
bad
I think he gets signed as a starter still. We'll see.
Where though? Other than New England, which we don't think he'll go.
Well, we should wrap this up. But New England, Jacksonville.
Jacksonville is Minshew. I think they're in on Minshew at least for this year. If not, they'll go for Lawrence.
I still think New England or the Chargers are good ones. I don't know. We'll see.
Between Cam and Jameis,
we'll see how the draft shakes out. But I still think it depends. If Miami gets Tua, then obviously not. But if they don't get Tua, they could always sign Jameis. I don't know. I feel like there's a bunch of teams. We have to wait till after the draft maybe to see really the situation. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he lands. I don't know.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well,
I think that was a good podcast. I'm sorry we took a little 2-month hiatus there, but we're back now for the foreseeable future because we're just gonna be at home for a while. So hopefully we are back soon with some more sports. And thanks, Max, again for coming on today. It was great.
Yeah, Max, that was some great insight, dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Thanks,
and hope everyone enjoys.